I think what we've been missing from this championship battle between Lando and Oscar is a willingness to take a risk that could potentially end badly for both or either of them. And I think we're now in a place where Lando and Oscar both are willing to do that, which means that I think this championship battle is about to heat up in a very different way. McLaren currently sits in first for the Constructors' Championship at 374 points, and their closest competitor is Mercedes in P2 with 199, meaning that they have a 175-point berth between them and next place. So at this point, yeah, you can afford to take a couple of risks, even if that means one of your drivers goes home without points that race. As long as they're not crashing every race, and as long as they're still having strong performances, they're up against teams that are not putting points on the board in the same way. And that means that there is a little bit more focus early on in a different way this year to allow them to kind of play through this drivers' championship battle and see who really comes out on top. The question will be how both of them respond to this type of issue, because Lando came out of that crash and immediately took responsibility, explained his reasoning, apologized to the team, and apologized to Oscar, and hopefully seemed to kind of move on. Oscar also did not seem to have much bad blood about the situation, especially given that it didn't ultimately affect his race. But I think you have both of them on alert now. Both of these drivers are willing to take risks, and both of these drivers want more than anything to win this title. This also means that Max ends up being a bit closer in this conversation for a driver's title again, which again is a complete 180 from where we were last week. Max only took home 1 point in Barcelona, but then comes in second here and is ahead of both of those McLaren drivers. Race to race, everything could change in the driver's fight. And that is a pretty exciting place to be. Because to me, getting back into an era of racing where teammates are so closely locked in that we actually are seeing the top team be incredibly competitive between both drivers is something that we haven't had in quite a while. I think the last time we really had that was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton before Nico retired. Because after that, we saw Lewis Hamilton's teammate become Valtteri Bottas. And Valtteri really served as a strong second driver that was willing to take a back seat to Lewis's championship titles. And so instead, we saw those battles be between drivers that were not teammates. And in a similar regard, we've seen Max Verstappen also kind of dominate his own team with teammates that are nowhere near him. And so the last 4 titles that Max has not been him having really any contention from his teammate in what was arguably previously the best car on the grid. Instead of having two drivers that were so incredible in the best car on the grid like we've had previously, the last kind of 2 eras of very dominant drivers and championships have been a really dominant car with one really dominant driver. And the McLaren teammate battle is really the first time that we've seen two of these drivers go head to head in the best car in a long time. So if we're at a point where both of these drivers are really willing to take risks, it means that while we may continue to see McLaren be extremely dominant in the Constructors' Championship, the driver's title becomes a lot tighter and a lot more exciting to watch. And to me, that's more exciting. I think it's more exciting to get to see drivers actually go head to head all the way from one line to the other, bell to bell for the whole season. And I think as much as it sucks that we saw Lando DNF, it's still exciting to see him willing to take that risk,